page.
Yes, you
and it
are.
should show me a live.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody. We are live.
I can't see where.
This is really weird. It'll pop
if we're
up.
Live. I don't. Right. So how do I share this if I can't see it?
So I think you have to wait for it to pop up. I think there's little delays.
There we are.
Here we are in the. This is what I love and hate about technology. I love it and hate it in equal measure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ray is going to share the post onto the NCP Facebook page, and we are now live, and hopefully all will work. Ray, does that work?
There's a bit of a delay, isn't there? It looks like a Chinese dubbing. I can't find the share.
Okay, so if you go under,
yes, I can see it.
You would under.
I've got it. It's okay. I can see it.
So Ray, you do that, and I'll introduce you. So whilst you're doing that and sharing it to your page, I'll introduce you.
It's now gone onto my timeline.
Woo! Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, that's what it said anyway. Okay, introduce me then, Louise.
Need we say more, really? I mean, the thing is that we all connect here at Simply Changing with really real people, Ray. You've just demonstrated how really real you are, how engaged with your social media you are. And that's why we're associated with the National Council of Psychotherapists. So Ray Freeman heads up the National Council of Psychotherapists, which is situated in the gorgeous county of Yorkshire, in Silsden in Yorkshire. So a really nice part of the world, actually. And the National Council of Psychotherapists has been going for quite a number of years. I've been associated and affiliated with it for, over 20 years now, personally. It's going for a long time before then. And the legacy is the lovely David, who passed it on to you, handed his baby over to you, Ray, about 9 years ago, wasn't it? Tell us about that.
Well, it was about towards the end of 2011, about the November time, and David realized finally that he was too ill to continue running the NCP, and he I think 2 or 3 people asked him whether they would he like them to take over, but he actually came to me and said, Ray, will you take this over? And so that was on a Thursday, and by Monday I was in charge, and I didn't have a clue. Well, I did have a clue what it was, because it's my professional body and it had been for years, but he of course it was all paperwork and stationery in those days, and everything was in the Derbyshire address where David lived, bless him. And of course I collected it all in my little car, brought it back up to Yorkshire, and I'm thinking, why did I bother? Because all the addresses are wrong. And what happened was, it was the strangest thing, that in that first year, to the end of 2012 renewal, everybody renewed on the 1st of January. And so what happened was, David sent out the renewal notices, but with my address on it. So he didn't know what was coming back in, and I was getting paperwork and checks every day we couldn't get everybody through, because there was 5 pieces of paper in to renew somebody with their CPD and records and everything. And the last one got renewed in August from January. So I had to make some changes really quickly. And one of the first things we did was change to a 12-month membership. So when you joined, you paid for 12 months and you didn't pay to the 1st of Jan. The company wasn't really a company at all. It was David's business. So I made it into a limited company right away because we'd been around since 1971, according to the records. And to be honest with you, Louise, I really didn't want anybody to come out of the woodwork from the 1970s saying the National Council owes me money. So it needed to be a limited company really quickly. And then, of course, he gave me a list of people I could trust. And you were on it, of course. And we formed a management team. There was you, it was Penny, Jason, Kim, and there was another, was that? Oh, I've forgotten her name. That's how long ago it was. And for a couple of years, we did everything together, and it was fantastic because it allowed me to get my feet under the table and learn the business end of the NCP. And then it sort of died a natural death, really. But it got to the point where I wanted to move quicker than a committee because we needed to be light on our feet from a business point of view. So I went on my own. We've grown and grown and grown and grown, and I can't tell you how many groans there is in that, but there's loads of them. And we were tiny when we took over, but we are now ready for the Premier League. We are up there with not the huge, or the 2 or 3 huge organisations, but in terms of quality, we're with them. So I've looked at all sorts of different things. One of the things I wanted to do first, we had to pass the VAT barrier because I can't start adding VAT to membership because that would be a disaster for everybody. So we formed a community interest company, a CIC, and we are in the process of winding up the old limited company. But we are now a franchise that is run by this community interest company. And we're going from strength to strength. Ruth and I chat every day. You know, Ruth Harrison is my right hand. And of course, in lockdown, particularly, we don't see each other. And we chat every day. And every day we go, look at the figures, because we're so excited by the growth. Lockdown was actually very easy for us because we went paperless. We moved to a new office at the end of 2018.
Oh, yes.
And we went paperless at the same time. So every member file was scanned and shredded and is stored in 2 clouds just to make sure we've got it safe. Or everything complies, of course, with GDPR. So it was very easy. When lockdown appeared, I just said to Ruth, take your MacBook and your mobile phone that we use for the company, go home. And I went home. And my client work is electronic as well, and so is my supervision. I do everything on an iPad with a pencil. So it actually didn't affect us at all. Except weight gain, because sitting at home, I've put a stone on in the lockdown. But apart from that, it's been very easy so far.
So in that, that's really important for me to hear as well, because that's part of my history too, Ray. You're kind of summing up the last 10 years, really. We lost the beautiful David, didn't we? Yeah. And he was very like you in that all he cared about was looking after the members of the NCP. That was what he cared about. And when he chose someone to be his successor, I mean, he literally handed that over to you because he recognized in you. And that's who you are, Ray. That's the reason that I stayed with the NCP when David was part of it, because I knew if I needed some advice or support, you were on. He was on the end of the phone, and you're exactly the same. So he chose his successor really cleverly and very wisely. So I just want to point that out, because one of the things that we say, you accredit our programs, and that's really important to me. And people do say, why the NCP? And I said, because you know, Ray is there, he's on it, he's with you, he's rooting for you, he'll support you. And if anything goes pear-shaped, you need a man like Ray Freeman behind you and the NCP behind you. So that's exactly why, as coaches, we continue to, you know, be accredited by you and suggest to people they become part of the NCP as a member. So, you know, you know, listening to that, like 10 years where we chose little rooms in little hotels, didn't we, as a team all those years ago. And, you know, by the side of as close to the M1 as we could make it, and people travelled,
from Essex, a lot from Midlands, and of course I was in Yorkshire. I still am. Yeah, we used to meet have dinner, didn't we, and then have the following day as the meeting.
Yeah.
And I can remember doing one of those meetings, and I was absolutely devastated with the flu. And I don't know how I got through the day and then drove home, but we did it. We had some good fun.
Yeah, we did.
Sorted, didn't we? The thing about the late David, bless him, he was the reason I joined the NCP, because I came out of one of the big organizations and that I really didn't want to be associated with at that particular time. And I was an accredited therapist with them. And he said to me, he answered the phone. Well, he didn't answer the phone. He always used to ring you back, didn't he? And it was only when I took over from him, I realized why he always rang you back. And the reason was that he ran it upstairs in his house, in one of the bedrooms, and he had oxygen because he had cancer for about 20 years. He had oxygen, and he used to hear the phone and get out of breath going up the stairs, catch his breath back, and then ring you back. And I never realized that until I went there to meet him. But one of the things that persuaded me to join in the first place was the phraseology that I still use, and the business model that we still use and won't be changing. And that is, he said, if you know your business better than we do. If you get stuck, pick the phone up. I'm here. And I do exactly the same thing. And we now have a structure several times bigger than we were when I took over. And I still do the same thing. We have set it up that way that I answer the phone, because if we have staff, and Ruth Harrison is brilliant, as you know, you've dealt with her, but she's not a therapist. And people ring up and they'll go, well, I've got this client, and they're saying they're going to do this, so it might be a bit of supervision, or it might be something legal, or it might be something insurance wise, but they want to talk to a therapist that's got experience. And so that's why I answer the phone.
Yeah.
And it's never going to alter. That's the way. This is our business model. I'm at the bottom of the structure in that I deal with the members. And there are organizations that think they compete with us. They don't, because they're not as good, but they think they compete with us, and they don't even give their members a phone number. You have to email in.
Yeah.
And I find that absolutely outrageous, because their fees are higher than ours are at the moment. And I think, you know, they're paying to talk to me if they need anything.
Yeah.
So I have insurance and legal and all sorts, and you're probably aware as well that Ruth is also a lawyer, not in practice now because she's got a young family, but she works for us full time now, and she can always answer a question.
Yeah.
So we've set about making it more professional. The NCP logo is now a trademark, so that we can hunt down and have some teeth for people that are using it illegally, because that's what it is now.
Yeah.
So we've did that, and we've made like I say, we've made the community interest company. We're doing everything the right way round to get us into the Premier League, into the PSA.
What I'm very conscious of as you're speaking, Ray, is that you know, you're talking about professional body, and you're talking about customer service, and you're talking about legal and insurance issues and all the things that all of our lovely coaches also need to be mindful of, because
Absolutely.
set up yourself as a coach, you
Yeah.
have a coach practice, and so it's really interesting how what we do here at Simply Changing, what you do at the NCP, and what each one of these, I mean, look at it, we've got some lovely people who joined us today, so we've got some great folks, and all of those will be therapists, coaches, and will have the requirement for all that legal entity as well. So it's about the practice of how you keep yourself accessible to your customers, to the people who come and want your services, whilst also you keep yourself safe. There's been some big challenges over the years with, I mean, GDPR was a nightmare for all of, for all of the therapists, coaches out there. It was a real challenge. And it was diabolical in terms of how it was delivered and the expectations.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't that. We did have a member, Nicole Huthwaite, who ran GDPR courses for us. And they were in Sherwood Forest somewhere, I can't remember where. And I went on them and came away none the wiser. It was a nightmare. The whole GDPR thing has been a nightmare. It still is, I think.
Yeah, it still is very confusing, and it's still a bit scary. And it's over engineered, really, isn't it? I think it's over engineered. And it made people lose an awful lot of their hard-earned database of people without any need or necessity to do that, which was pretty awful. If anybody's got any questions for Ray, we're really happy to take them. We've got some amazing, really smart cookies out there listening to us, which is just wonderful. So it doesn't matter how random, we'll have a go at answering.
Be gentle with us though.
Ray will do his level best to give you the best answer he can. And if he doesn't know the answer, Ray will do what he always does, which is go away, research it, and come back. And that's what he will do. And that's why that's the personal element of being associated with the NCP. So we've had a lot of fun actually over the years, and it's ages since you and I spoke, Ray, isn't it, in person?
We used to meet in Sheffield and have lunch. You come up from Derby and I come down from Leeds. We used to meet in, what was that whole, it was TGI Fridays or something. Something very fattening anyway, I remember that. Just off the motorway again, wasn't it?
It's always got to have food for me, I'm afraid. Food and a cup of coffee, and I'm anyone's really, and I'll be there all day. I'll be very, very happy.
What we used to do is we'd have like 3 or 4 hours over lunch, didn't we?
We did. It was good. It was really good. We should do more of that. You're doing some great work in terms of developing the NCP, aren't you, moving forward with wait a minute, before we go on to that, we've got a question by Liza Joe. When applying for insurance, the company that you recommended said that we need to keep clients' records for 5 years as concerning GDPR. I wondered why.
Well, 5 years is quite short compared to the NHS patient files, which is 7. The way I look at it is that if my insurance company tells me I've got to keep my records for 5 years, then that's what I do. The point is that they have to be available to your client for a period of time, your former client for a period of time. The general consensus from holistic insurance services is 5 years is adequate. And it's the shortest it could possibly be. It's not the same as like our membership records, which we only, under our privacy policy, we only keep for 3 months. But these are personal, medical health, mental health records very often. So 5 years is okay, I think. And if you do it in the cloud like I do, you just forget about it. It's there and it's gone. And I, like I say, I do everything electronic in my own clinical work. And I just shove it into iCloud and also into Dropbox, and my iCloud picks it up automatically off my desktop. And I that's what I do. I just forget about it. And if someone comes back to me, I did have one recently, but he was only a client towards the end of last year, so it wasn't a 5-year gap. But 5 years is if they're telling you 5 years, then that's what you need to do. Does that help?
So so she follows on with, so the paperwork and detail around us keeping them needs to be agreed by the client, thus needs to be in our policies and shared and agreed by them. Yeah, so yes. I think as coaches, I think as psychotherapists, I'm not sure of the message that we give kind of clients, but as coaches, what we say is that, you know, these written notes, if we take written notes, because I don't think we have to take written notes.
No.
Yeah, and if we do take these written notes, we make sure that they're positive and that they're goal orientated, and we make sure that our coachee knows that if they want to read them at any point in time, they can. Usually they're illegible because they're just like quick questions that you've written that you want to ask, or a word here or there. So so you don't have to create written notes about your clients. That's correct, isn't it, Ray?
I always advise people, the better your note taking, the better protection you have. But the client agreement must be part of your client agreement right at the beginning of therapy or coaching system practice. And I do that. It's included in my client agreement, and I won't talk to anybody until they've signed it. And they do it electronically now. I send it to them with and they send it back either signed, or if they can't do that, they print it, sign it, and take a picture of it on their phone and send it. But I won't talk to anybody until I've got it. That protects me. My notes tend to be bullet points. And I use little symbols that I've used for the last 20 years to mean something to me, but it's just a scribble to anybody else. I do make notes, but they've already agreed that I've got to keep them, because that's in my client agreement is my privacy policy, and that's in there. It says I have to keep them under GDPR regulations. So once they've signed that they've agreed all that, I can keep them as long or short as I want. And I can't advise, I don't want to advise anybody to say you should be verbatim or not if there is some sort of complaint. I don't think it matters one way or the other. My feeling is that like I say, I bullet point, and if anybody can make head or tail of it, good luck to them. I know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. If you make verbatim notes, it will either get you out of trouble or put you in it. So it's your call. We are a fantastic organization, and our membership is brilliant. In the 9 years, it will be 9 years in November. I think I've had 7 complaints in 9 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done. Yeah. Well done to everybody. All the members.
They're just fantastic professionals. And the first thing I do is ask for their notes. Because I want to see what they're thinking when they're talking to their client. We've only ever had one occasion to exclude somebody. But apart from that, it's fine. Everybody is such professional people. It's a real privilege looking after them, because they're not numpties. They're all fantastic professionals. I cleaned that up.
Definitely. All these folks here who are the Simply Changing coaches are all brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So Liza Jo says, I always record the sessions that so the client can have a copy of the session. So she's talking about video or audio recordings. And more what I'm discovering is that we always ask for the second session of every group of 3 in our coaching program to be recorded. So what I'm finding is that people are finding that so useful that they ask if they can record all of the sessions so that it can reflect on that video or audio session. So what's your view on video or audio recordings in terms of recording those? And Mayra, thanks for that. It sounds like you've got an answer to your questions, so that's good. If you haven't, come back to it. What do you want recordings?
Well, you're probably not going to like the answers to this. If people pay me for an hour's work, why am I going to record it and let them have it over and over again when I'm not there being paid?
Yes.
I think this comes from hypnotherapy, to be honest. I'm a hypnotherapist too, as you know. Maybe in hypnotherapy, if you record something that you do with a client, why would you want to give it to them to listen to it 50 times over the next 3 weeks and not come back? And I want to make sure the client is getting better. It's not about money for nothing. It's about making sure that the goals of their therapy are met.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely true in coaching as well. If you want to record it, go ahead. My very first supervisor was all for audio recordings. We didn't do videos in those days. It was a steam thing, wind up TV in those days. So she always encouraged me to do it, but I never did, because I thought, I want to see them. I want to see their progress. I don't want to give them a one hit. Oh, listen, I'll go listen to Ray again because I don't feel too good. That's not getting them better.
Can I interject as well, Ray? Because I think what's really important from a coaching point of view, and if I may also, if I could answer Deb's question, Deb Taylor, if I could answer that afterwards as well, that would be really cool. But the thing about the recordings of the session and the note taking is that very often coaches talk a lot about their unresourcefulness, and what we do as coaches is we guide them towards their resourcefulness. So we want them to remember that. We don't want them to remember them talking about all the unresourceful things that happen. So I wouldn't want to give my recordings to my coachee, and if I was going to, I'd edit it so that they were all hearing the positive things, the outcomes, the actions, the perspective that they'd gained, the positive decisions that they'd made as a result of the coaching. If in any coaching session, a person will talk about unresourceful stuff, and that's keeping that neural pathway going. And what we want to do is we want to create new neural pathways. So for me, that would be the reason that I wouldn't. But if my coachee wanted it, I would edit it, and I'd take out all the unresourceful stuff so that they could hear that. Because if they hear their own voice talking unresourcefully about themselves, it will keep that neural pathway strong, which is that negative self-talk or whatever it is that a person's carrying. So that would be my reason for that, Liza Jo. So you're going to be hot in your editing suite, it sounds like.
You were answering Deb's Taylor. Were you going to answer Deb Taylor?
Yeah. Let's have a look at that. So Deb says, how long does it train to be a coach? And is the life coaching industry growing? So let me take the first question. So how long does it take? So we have a program which is a taught program of 4 months with an extension up to 7 months. You would not believe, and the guys here have all borne testimony to the training process that they go through. So we would take sort of 7 to 9 months as an average in terms of how long. The life growing industry is indeed growing. It's the second fastest growing industry behind information technology. and we know that to be a fact, and worldwide it's growing exponentially. Is the market saturated with life coaches? No. If you think about it from this point of view, how many doctors are there in the world? How many teachers are there in the world? And so we need more coaches, because coaching is an everyday. It should be an everyday life skill. It should be the wise person that is always available. And the more coaches that there are, the more demand that there is for coaches, and there is a great demand for coaches. So what we would recommend is that life coaches decide what your niche is. So, what and that comes as a result of going through the coaching program often, so that you can find the people that get you and that you get, and then you can be of service and assistance to them. No, the market's not saturated. There's massive growth. There's 70 million people in the UK alone. A small fraction of those are coaches. A small fraction of those are accessing coaching. So we want coaching in schools and hospitals. We want coaching in industry, in the charitable sector. So we want coaching everywhere, because it makes a massive difference. We know it. We see it every day. How much does a life coach tend to charge per hour? We would recommend that you, as a newly qualified life coach, you're charging at least something like £50 until you've got your feet well and truly sort of sorted. Charge what your market reflects, and you can build into your. So, for example, on average, I charge 120. I do lots and lots of subsidised coaching for our simply changing people, so I reduce that. So you can do that within your business model. And if you want to work with people who don't have that kind of disposable income, then you can do group coaching sessions as well. So that can be a £5 or a £10 or a bring a cake along, or take me out for lunch, or whatever it is. It's you can build in so that people can afford to access coaching, and we do an awful lot of bono stuff.
Can I add something? Can I add something to that, Louise?
Sure, you can. Yeah.
You mentioned there's 70 million people in the UK alone. We are just going through the year from hell. Not only is there a huge market for therapy, but there is also a huge market for coaching, because not everybody coming out of this trauma that we've all been through will need mental health help.
No.
But they may well need coaching help to reshape their lives post-virus. So there's so many people out there. Never, ever worry about saturation. It's never going to happen. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I think that's a great answer. And sometimes I forget that we're in the midst of a pandemic. Life feels like it's returning to normal, yet the fallout for everything that we've been through globally, and potentially we don't even know what the future is. I'm just reading a book called How to Survive a Pandemic. It's a scary book. It's a scary book. So keeping ourselves safe, and the future could be very, very different. Let's have a little look at Jane Dickens' question. So great to see you, Ray, in person.
Hi, Jane.
Your weekly letter from the NCP has been
thank you. Yeah, okay.
During the strange times we are living in. If you could explain the layman's terms about the changes that are taking place regarding the PSA application, please, i.e. main reasons for the change. And hi, Jane, it's nice to see you and nice to have you with us.
Okay, Jane. Here goes. Hang on by your fingernails if you have to. We have a register. The National Council of Psychotherapists has a register of members. We have certain standards for those members to achieve before we accept a membership, training and all that sort of thing. And once they are in, in professional development and supervision. So we are what we would call, and I'm going to explain this in football terms, I hope you understand, that we are the top of Division 2. There are no compulsory legislation in the UK. So there are literally hundreds of professional bodies in therapy and coaching. We're one of the oldest, as we've already said, if you were in the beginning. And we feel, the way we have grown over the last several years, that we should not be at the top of Division 2, that we should be into the Premier League. Now, the Premier League is elite in as much as, to get into the Premier League, we have to have government approval. And the government approval is voluntary. We're volunteering to ask for it. It's not compulsory, but it's run by an organization called the Professional Standards Authority. And they set down certain criteria that they will approve an organization. We don't quite meet that in terms of our training standards. No, that's not true. We actually do meet them in terms of training standards, but we don't meet them in terms of how we demonstrate we protect the public and our members. So we have to change the structure internally, and that costs a lot more money administratively, to be able to prove to them that we are at their level, at their Premier League level. And if we can do that, every member will become available for any institutional or NHS work across the country, because they will only accept the Premier League. Now, I know at one time, years ago, it used to be you had to be in the BACP, the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy. That is not true anymore, because they are just on the list of the PSA accredited organisations, along with UKCP, National Counselling Society, and there are 14 others to do with therapy in one form or another, including the Christian Counselling Association, UKAHP. There's 14 of them. We would be the only integrative organisation that the PSA accept, which means we will accept, just as we do now, suitably qualified professionals, whether they are coaches, therapists, psychotherapists, hypnotherapists, counsellors, as a top-line therapy. Of course, people like Louise and I and others are multidisciplinary anyway, because I've got 4 different diplomas, one kind or another. But it means that if I want to go and work in the GP office, or I can ask for work in the NHS in the local hospital, at the moment, even with 20 years experience and something approaching 10,000 hours of client work, I am not acceptable. But with a PSA accreditation, I am acceptable. So it opens up the whole world for every one of us. And I think we deserve it.
Yeah.
I certainly do. And that's why we're doing it. Our membership is fantastic and growing. We're getting in 2 or 3 new members every day. So we are drawing people in because of our standards. We just have to demonstrate those standards to the PSA. That can take a while, because, as I was saying to Louise just before we came on air, they're very vague about the requirement. Just to give you an example, in finances, they say we have to have a reserve in case we need to meet any legal costs. And I said, well, how much do we need? And they went, well, I don't know. And I went, well, give me a clue. He went, well, I can't. So that counts against us. You think, how do I know if I've got enough? Well, you can go in there with, right, I've got enough. That's enough for me, and negotiate. So the vagueness is difficult to deal with, but it's actually an advantage for us. It gives us some wriggle room. So
I think the key thing about that, you use the word integrative, and to people who don't understand or maybe haven't heard that term before, what the NCP are is the National Council of Psychotherapists, and that psychotherapy of view is a wide, broad church of integrative therapies. So things that sit well and fit with the outcomes and the ethics of the organisation and the understanding of how people work in a professional way. And the NCP has always been very, very accepting of, you know, the high standards of really well trained coaches. So that's really important. And for me, and for, you know, thinking about the importance of coaching and knowing the effectiveness of coaching, to have an organisation to be part of the PSA, to then be able to have access into the NHS is very important, because we know the NHS are very accepting of things like oh my God, it's gone out my head. CBT, sorry. CBT. The NHS really needs to be aware of what we're doing as coaches, because we're hugely effective across that mental health spectrum, as we know, dependent on where you want to specialise, hugely effective, keeping people well, you know, without... here's me on my soapbox now again, but I feel very, very strongly about it, because I know the amazing work that you guys out there are doing in the field, and it's phenomenal. So having that as part of our future is great. Ray, just recently, of course, one of our graduates who is kind of leading CAMS in the Staffordshire area, has enabled simply changing an NCP accredited coaches to become part of the CAMS delivery process. Because she believes in coaching so much, and she, you know, luckily she's one of our coaches and she believes in what we're doing, which is fantastic. So, you know, these inroads into the NHS will influence the change, because CBT is very useful, but CBT is not everything. And coaching itself is an integrative therapy, because you can bring in all sorts of things, as we do, for example. Anyway, I'm just going to go to another question, if I may, which is from Lindsay. I'll show it on the screen. So Lindsay says that she has spent many years getting herself in a place of coaching, and she's currently on the coaching director. I don't know why you're not with the NCP, but let's get her on board. So I looked recently at the NCP website, and I'm so interested to know how the NCP directory has been received and is building and being recognised. And maybe Ray's explanation of the ongoing work as far as being good. So she's ready now to present her coaching wholeheartedly, and wants to create a page in what she feels is a very professional way, and has such credence. So, Ray, what is your view on? She's not specifically asking a question, but you know, it's a really good, strong statement, isn't it? What's your view on that?
Right, NCP director, right. Yeah, well, I think if you've been listening, Lindsay, and in the last 20 minutes or so, we believe that we are at the top of the second division of all professional bodies, whether it's coaching, counselling, or psychotherapy or hypnotherapy. But we feel that we deserve to be in the top division, so that would enable all of our members access to EAPs and the NHS and all those sorts of things that require accreditation from a PSA accredited body. So we just want to join. We don't want to be on the outside. I like to think we are the best of the rest. And I'm sure there are organizations that may challenge that in terms of size. I don't know. I'm not that interested. What we lack in size, we have in quality. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that we're a small organisation. We're not. So this is the route we have decided to go. We have expertise supporting the application in as much as the committee doing it have done it before with other organisations. So we should be able to get in, according to the PSA themselves, at the maximum, it would be by next August. My view is, along with them unofficially, is we're looking at March, between March and May, to get accepted by them. We have to have an acceptable running register before we apply to them. But having said that, they've told us to put an application form in right now so that it can give them a clue and help us, guide us to where we need to be, which is what we're doing. But our new register, the one that is going to be acceptable to the PSA, starts on the 1st of January. That's the day the fee goes up, because we need the money, the income to put on reserve, like I've said. And the criteria for membership will change. So we're going places. Why not come and join us?
do, because it's definitely the organisation that will provide support for you. And you know, when you're out there doing your coaching, and you know, we provide graduate supervision, obviously, for our coaches. You just want to make sure that you are supported professionally. You have your insurance in place, your professional body that's supporting you, and just make sure that you have that in place, because if you don't have that in place and something happens, then you're exposed and you have to manage it yourself, and you can manage these things with raised support. So it's really, really sensible to be engaged with a professional body. And as I say, it's the professional body of choice for us here at Simply Changing. Like she's off to do a confidence coaching session with a group of care leavers. Brilliant. Coaching for all. Super excited. Good luck with that, Liza Jo. She may have already left, but if you haven't, we're with you in spirit, definitely. Thanks, Gemma Rosenthal. Lovely comments. So Gemma said, training as a coach has helped me recover from my mental health. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant to hear that. I'm super proud of that, and super proud of you, Gemma. Well done. Gemma says, I started my course whilst I was in a crisis. Oh my God, you did? Yes. Well, you were in a crisis and for mental health, and now much better and coaching others. So this is what we need. The coaching methodology is just so wise and sensible, and practitioner led. So it's very, very accessible to everybody. And because we take our, sorry, I'm taking over here, but we take our lead from person-centeredness from lovely Carl Rogers and the amazing work that he did, for example, that everything's really person-centered. I just want to go back to the comment that Mayra made, which is she heard that there is currently one coach for every 80,000 people if you're taking the world's population. So you'd be a very busy coach indeed. And that's a good response to the question. Mayra, yep, you both have standards and professionalism and also authentic, which I believe is why people are drawing to you. And here's to the PSA. That's really, really lovely. Lovely to hear.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Gemma, still need to join the NCP. Of course you do. If you're stuck, message me on Facebook and I'll guide you through it, or either I will or I'll get Ruth Harrison to help you. It's straightforward enough, I promise you. So drop me a message through Facebook or however you like, and I'll sort it out with you.
And I think the benefits are that you've got a support network, a safety support network around you. You know, this is Ray. He is an accessible person at the end of the telephone. If you need his help and support, you will get it. And it's not just Ray. Ray stands for the National Council of Psychotherapists. So it's the professional body that he represents. And it's important as coaches to have that professional support network for you, and to protect you, and also to protect your coaches too. Yeah, good to see Lorraine on the. I was thinking about you the other day, Lorraine. It's good to see you on the chat there. Thank you very much for your lovely comments.
Thank you.
Lindsay, I think the NCP is phenomenal, Ray.
No, that's not Lindsay's voice. How as a director being received in the public by the public? Well, we've only just gone live in the last few days. We have a fantastic marketing company we've used for a couple of years now, run by a lady called Emma Mills, and Emma has only recently started to put out some 1-minute videos about the PSA and us joining. We couldn't, even though we've been talking to them for a couple of months, we couldn't do it right away because we wanted to make sure that their approval. So what happens is, on their own website, they have a list of companies that are applying or about to apply. And once we went on that, and they had to ask us, would you mind? And I thought, would I mind? So once it was on there, I needed to check the wording we could use to say that because I didn't want to upset anybody there. And once that's done, we've now decided we can start to go through and advertise it a little bit. The thing about it is, and it's probably a bit mercenary to say so, but the fee at the moment goes up by £60 on the 1st of January. So if you're thinking about joining, do it now, because you won't pay the increase until your renewal next year. And I'm not supposed to be, that's highly unprofessional for me to say something like that. But if you're thinking about it, stop thinking, do it. Do it now while it's cheaper. It's 94 quid at the moment. It's going to be 154 on the 1st of January. So your call. If you're thinking about doing it, do it now. That also goes for accreditation and for membership. Because if you may join as an accredited member if you have the experience in the background. But if you join at a postgraduate and you've been in practice for 3 years and you meet the rest of the criteria for accreditation, do it now, because the criteria goes up on the 1st of January. Apply now. I've been telling everybody that. If you're not accredited yet, do it now, because we're going to carry you across onto the new register. Sorry, Louise. Sorry.
No, I think it's really important. I think it's good context and good information for everybody. So join now, and then anyway, we're fully accredited by the NCP. So you should be very, very safe. Alison Oddy, I know this was really interesting.
Yeah, we did.
Do you want to read it out, Ray?
Yeah, okay. Hi, Louise and Ray. As you both know, I volunteered to coach NHS frontline staff during COVID-19, accepted by one group of London hospitals and not accepted by Project 5, as they did not accept the NCP. I support the NCP as a professional body, thank you, and was frustrated by the Project 5 decision. So was I. They wouldn't even talk to me, Alison, because, as you know, we had several email exchanges and a conversation on the phone as well, I think. And I tried to get hold of them to ask them why, but they wouldn't talk to me. This is the whole point of the PSA. They cannot do that sort of thing once we're on that register of accreditation. And this is why we're heading for it. I am fed up with thinking our brilliant professionals get turned away from work by some numpty somewhere because we're not in the BACP or the NCS or something else.
Yeah.
And that's just not good enough. Our standards match and actually exceed some of theirs.
Yeah.
We have to demonstrate that to the PSA, and then we'll be in their league.
Yeah.
And people like Project 5 won't be able to do things. I mean, where do they get off, for God's sake? You're volunteering. It's not as if they want to pay you or anything. You're volunteering to help. You've got huge experience in the field, and they can't see that because it's not on the PSA register. How stupid is that? We're going to correct that. Alison.
Yeah. And it was very, very frustrating. I mean, we have many coaches within Simply Changing who wanted to be part of that. And it's the way, I suppose it's the way in which people make decisions. And that's going to change with being part of the PSA. That's why I'm very pro PSA. I think it's a really, really super duper idea. The quality of the coaches that come out of Simply Changing. We all know the work that we're doing, the way in which we're changing people's view of themselves and the goals that they want to achieve, and keeping people mentally well, and that that's a fact. So, and if anybody wants to come and look at the work that we do and the work that the NCP do, please feel free. If anybody's out there listening to this, and they think it's all words, just come and have a look at some of the work that we do. It's utterly phenomenal. You guys, you coaches are incredible. Thank you for that, Ali. That's lovely.
Mayra.
Yeah.
So if you're a student member, we don't call you students anymore. You're a trainee member now. This carries on for a year, even if you graduate within that year. No, we want you to be a full member. So drop a line to us by email and Ruth Harrison will sort it out for you. Because as a trainee member, you don't get a profile on the website. You want a profile on the website so people will find you. You need to be a full member for that. So drop us a line and Ruth will sort it out for you.
Fantastic. Let me just see what Jane is saying here. So for anyone considering joining the NCP, I would like to say that as a qualified coach with Simply Changing in 2019, joining the NCP has been invaluable. Not only is Ray at the end of the phone, you get regular newsletters and training opportunities, which I found most useful during lockdown. And Jane did. Jane and I were doing stuff on Facebook, as you know, for our lives during lockdown. Yeah. And Jane was constantly saying, I've been on the CPD program and I've heard from Ray. And so all really good stuff, all of which were of a very high standard. Being a member also enables clients to know that you work within a professional framework. This is sounding like a sales pitch. Jane, thank you.
I like it.
It kind of wasn't meant to be, but actually I think the passion of what we do and the amount of effort and energy that goes into training coaches to be really high standard, and the NCP accrediting those processes and looking after people once they've become qualified. We are passionate about it, aren't we, Ray?
The fantastic thing is, I think Jane did. We had 2 courses that we put up really quickly. They're only a couple of hours each, both written by Emma Mills, our marketing guru, and she put them both up. That's why we had to charge something, because we can't expect her to do it for nothing. One was marketing your business online, and the other one was about branding, and they both went down exceptionally well, remember, and we've still got them there if you want to do them, but we thought to move really quickly to get people. Suddenly, on the 23rd of March, was it, or something? Suddenly the world stopped, didn't it? We weren't allowed to do face-to-face work anymore. And so many of our members, I was concerned that so many of them would just drop off the dish altogether. So I've been working online with Zoom since about November of last year. So I wanted to help as much as I could. And that was the start of the newsletters. And I can't stop them now, can I?
No.
So there'll be another one out on Friday. But that was the whole point of the trying to get people. I was offering people help with Zoom. And of course, Zoom have a fantastic test website where you can play with it until you understand what you're doing. But I was also running one-to-ones with people. But these 2 courses backed it up. So that we, I don't think we lost anybody. We lost 1 or 2, I think, maybe, but it's a handful, if that.
It's brought into question everybody's way of life, really, no matter how you've been affected by it. Some people have worked their socks off over lockdown. Other people that I know have had these long holidays on full pay, like, wow.
I haven't had a day off.
I know, or a minute off.
No.
But we wouldn't have it any other way, because we all do what we do, and lots of people have had to be in homes with children, teaching them, doing their work. Some of our graduates who graduated over lockdown were working from home, teaching their children and studying to become coaches. I mean, if I had a hat, I would take it off to them. Absolutely incredible stuff going on over lockdown. Just amazing. Yes, I think. Let's have a look.
There's one, Jane Dickens, again, qualified. Especially with organisations such as NHS. Have either of you any thoughts on how we can raise awareness of NLP so that it can become more accessible to the public?
Yeah, I think I've been including NLP in my training program since 2002, so that's nearly 20 years now. And we are seeing a growth of it. So we were doing that, and in the last couple of years, I now see, coaches with NLP. And I think when we are able to get into the NHS, we're then able to sort of raise the profile of NLP. I think that NLP as a coach is very different than NLP in its purest sense. Absolutely. And I always say that here is coaching, and we fit NLP within it because it keeps NLP really safe, person-centered. It kind of coaching transforms NLP, in my opinion, and I've been doing it for a long time. So I'm very, very, very pro NLP within the coaching framework. And Jane, if we could all just talk about the benefits that we're getting. I had a supervision that dropped into my box today, and one of our developing coaches said, I was very skeptical of the NLP content at the start of the program. And then she's just absolutely seen the benefit of it. So she absolutely is completely won over by it. She sees the benefits of working with NLP with her coachees, from being skeptical, and people are skeptical because of the things that they hear about NLP. So when it's used ethically, as we use it within a coaching framework, which is really safe, it's dynamite. It's just the most amazing thing. And I always say that NLP, the associations for NLP say don't use it with people with mental health issues. And I say absolutely not. I completely disagree with that. I've been using it with people with mental health issues for as long as I can remember. And for me, what's important is that it's used ethically, it's used transparently, and it's used with the coachee in a coaching framework. So yeah, love what you say. I think we just need to change people's attitudes by demonstrating, being loud and proud, really, of what it is that we do and what changes we're making. The problem is that we can't. Our case studies are so confidential that we can't go, look at me, I did this. We can't make that really public, Ray, can we? Which is always the difficulty.
We can, but really the answer is just the same as for whatever modality we're talking about, coaching or therapy or whatever. And that is, if we are in the Premier League, then more people will see us. And that's the key. We have to get into the PSA, and, we'll do what it takes.
Yeah.
Because we deserve it, and that will give us the spotlights on all of our members, because we can go wherever we please and we can't be turned away like Alison was.
Exactly, and Alison did the most stunning work with NHS employees. frontline staff during the hardest part of COVID and the lockdown process. So Alison, you did amazing work. And that stands for itself. It's a testimony to to what can be done. Terry, thank you for your question. You're asking about, I think, our course. Yes, Terry. I'm going to pinch this one as well, Ray. Sorry.
Okay.
I know you won't mind.
No.
What I would say, I mean, you've got great people on this program who can probably answer that question. So it's how much time to set aside for discovering the brilliance of training to become a coach. So we always say that the webinars are 2 hours, that your coaching practice is what it is. So if you set aside preparation time, coaching time and reflection time, that probably comes to something in the region of about 4 hours. And then if you take all the learning, which is placed in bite-sized chunks in our online learning platform, and just give yourself kind of 30 minutes a day to go through that and to discover the stuff that we don't cover in the webinars. That's what I would say. And maybe you guys out there could give Terry some good responses to that in your comments. That would be really useful. Mayra, Ray, do you want to read that?
Oh, yeah,
Thanks,
just to finish off with Terry, can we get accredited by the NCP as soon as we graduate? Simple answer is no. You're not accredited, but you can become a full member. Accreditation is a further 3 years of process to demonstrate that you are experienced and developed enough to become accredited. Yes, as soon as you graduate, you can become a full member. You can have your profile on the website and our support, of course. But accreditation is a process that takes, from the moment you start your coaching diploma, it takes 4 years, because we always reckon that a year of training plus 3 years of experience for accreditation. And we'll encourage you all the way.
So just to clarify, that you would start off as a student member of the NCP, and when you've completed your coaching program with Simply Changing, you become a full member of the NCP. Right. So just to
thank you.
Yeah, brilliant question, Terry.
Where were you? Why you joined us late? Where were you?
It's interesting how the questions are taking us in all sorts of different directions. Yeah. I'm loving it, actually. We should do more of this, Ray. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm up for this. I think this has been good fun.
Yeah, really fun.
And also, well, for me, it's unscripted because well, I did 20-something lives over the lockdown for my own practice, and I was scripted every one. Because I just felt the need to have notes in front of me, not verbatim, just bullet points, but just to get the point across that I didn't want to go off on a tangent like I've done this afternoon a couple of times. I wanted to keep on message, so I had notes every time, and I will be going back to them. I'm not sure when, maybe next week or the week after. Once the kids are settled in at school, I think I might go back to doing them.
Yeah, definitely. Ray, can I ask a question? So for me, running our programs and guiding our developing coaches through the social distancing process. So what we say here at the moment is just stick with Zoom, because you're safe with Zoom. So when you are coaching someone, you don't then have to worry about making sure everything's clean and disinfected before people arrive, clean and disinfected after they've gone. Your social distancing, do you wear a mask? If a person hasn't got a pen, have you got your wipes? All sorts of issues really that come out. What's your view on this? Would you recommend that people stay on Zoom?
Well, yes, I've made it quite clear in several newsletters over the last few months, Louise, and they're all on the website if anybody wants to catch up with them. The point being that what are you taking a risk for? I've moved on Zoom 70% last November time, and then I lost 2 clients with lockdown. And I've turned away 2 or 3 since that will only want to work face to face. But the thing about it, a key for me at the moment is if face to face is with a mask on. I'd rather see somebody's face on Zoom than I would a mask.
Yeah.
So I'm not encouraging. I can't. It's not about encouraging members. I put my own opinion. My own opinion is that I'm not even thinking about face to face, possibly until New Year or even the spring, and then I might not do it. I've got colleagues. My peer supervisor, Catherine Labatt, she has never seen face-to-face clients. She always has worked online. Has a fantastic practice worldwide, and so why the aggravation of getting everything right and sanitized? I've had some physio recently, and the performance to get into the physio, they have to sanitize before you get there. And then it was on the first floor, the one I went to, and she followed me with a paper and spray, and everything I touched, she had to spray and get rid for the next client. And I just thought, can I be bothered? I have this one room now. I don't have my clinic anymore. I just have this one room. I've got a sofa just behind me here, but I can't social distance. So I'm not even thinking about it. And my encouragement to everybody else is stay safe. If you're ill, you can't work. And the bottom line is we are in business. This is a business. And our business may be helping people. But if you can't work, you can't put food on your table. So I
absolutely. No, with that 100%. I'm really conscious that I just want people to be coaching via Zoom. As much as we would love to do the face-to-face stuff. I think my advice is to stick with Zoom. Or if you're going to do it outside, go for a walk, make sure you're socially distanced, and make sure you're not coughing and spluttering all over the place. Really, really, really important. And go for a picnic, take your own picnic. Just make sure that you keep yourself safe. Because these are also new times. And I don't think there's been any claims that therapists have given somebody COVID at the moment, but it's only a matter of time before that starts to happen, because it's such an invisible thing. Nobody knows. And if a person runs away with the idea that they've got it from the therapist or the coach, we're in new territory completely, and we don't know.
You should also have a track and trace.
Track and trace.
Clause in your client agreement as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I should have said that before when we were talking about agreements, but I've added that to mine, and I've advised all my supervisees to do the same.
Yeah.
I think. Is there anything else?
Well, so Jane, let's just read out Jane's comment because it's important for NLP and mental health. She says, "Thank you. I agree that NLP within the coaching framework is the way forward. As you know, Louise, my passion is to use coaching with clients who struggle with their mental health. I am finding that because NLP works with the subconscious, it works well with those struggling with mental health issues. And yes, Ray, if we can access work with the NHS when the NCP receives PSA, well done, Jane. We can then hopefully see a transformation in how NLP within coaching can be used to help people achieve mental wellness." Brilliant. NLP within coaching and coaching with NLP, 100%. Brilliant, Jane. Thank you so much for that. Andrea says she loves the newsletters. Lovely to hear from you, Andrea. So informative and helpful, and great for keeping up to date with the latest developments. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Ray, are you ready for a cup of tea now?
I certainly am.
Fantastic. So I would like to say, Ray, thank you for your time this afternoon. It's been a hoot. I have loved catching up with you.
Yeah,
I think everybody else has really appreciated that too. you are like a breath of fresh air, as honest as the day is long, and as real as anything. So you know, it's just a great thing to touch base with you again, Ray. Thank you so much, and all the best with PSA, and anything you need from
Thank
any
you.
of us, shout, okay?
Of course I will. I know where to come. Thank you. Okay. You take care, Louise.
Bye, everybody. All right.
Bye.
Love. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.